All right, we're just minutes, pretty much, maybe an hour at the most, removed from a vote for E15 year-round nationwide in the House of Representatives. And right now, I am joined by Congressman Adrian Smith, the man who introduced the legislation to get it to where it is, probably the closest year-round E15 has ever been to becoming the law of the land. Congressman, thank you for taking a few minutes.
Well, thank you. It's an exciting day to get this bill out of the House, and I know Senator Fisher is excited to continue over in the Senate.
So walk me through the situation. I was watching some of the vote earlier this afternoon as it was going on. What was the scene going on in there? What was it like?
Well, there was a procedural motion by one of my Republican colleagues who just flat out doesn't like ethanol, and so he attempted to prevent us from even getting a vote. And we were not anticipating that procedural maneuver, but there was bipartisan interest in pushing back on that, and so that's why we ultimately got our vote and why we ultimately prevailed to get this issue out of the House. This is historic. It's great for the biofuels industry and producers, corn growers, but so many people and especially consumers.
And I think as an observer watching this situation, it's unique kind of in the way that you mentioned a Republican, Scott Perry in Pennsylvania, attempted to kick the bill back to committee to try to sideways it a little bit. Meanwhile, you have, farm state Democrats that are going to vote with you on this type of thing. So it's not necessarily Republican versus Democrat. It's a bipartisan
Right.
combination of sorts.
Right. This is probably one of the most significant bipartisan votes here in some time. When I originally introduced this bill, and we added co-sponsors one at a time. I'm so grateful that my colleagues have pitched in to help us get this done. It's exciting because I've been working on this for so long, but I'm more excited that this process can work. And for the sake of the institution, for the sake of America, and just consumers in general, obviously, I'm excited.
What do you, granted, it's past where it needs to get past for you and what you can do, but what do you have to say to the folks that are like, this is a mandate, or this is going to hurt this, or this is going to hurt that? What is your response to those folks?
Well, there's a lot of distortions out there that, I think there's hyperbole in many cases of the sky is falling. I think the process working itself out, the Senate taking it up, if they make changes, that means we'll probably have to go to conference committee. I'm not afraid of that. I think let's reason together, and a lot of mentions by a lot of folks that this is not a mandate. The critics tried to paint it to be a mandate. It's not a mandate. No one, assuming this version becomes law and signed by the president, because he is anxious to sign a bill like this, uh, it, no one is required to sell, blend, use the blend of E15. And so, I'm especially proud that common sense prevailed. We were able to push back on the distortions, and ultimately, I think consumers will benefit.
All right, so I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Can you put on your analyst hat for a moment? Because now it's going to the Senate, so that's out of your hands
I'm sorry. Can
necessarily.
back say that again? I couldn't
That's
hear you.
okay. To put on your analyst hat because now it's going to the Senate. So it's out of your hands. You've done your half of all of this. Where do you think it goes from here in the U.S. Senate? Can do you think Senator Deb Fischer and Senator Pete Ricketts can help get it across the finish line, or do you think that it'll run into some hurdles over there?
I think the strong bipartisan, the 60 vote threshold in the Senate, that's important. But make no mistake. I mean, Senator Fisher has been doing her homework on this. Helping all of us out along the way from a Senate perspective. So, Senator Fisher and her team and other senators too have been. Tomorrow won't be the first day that they start to take it up. So a lot of the groundwork has been laid, and then we proved that a majority in the House can get this done, and I think that helps push what is hopefully a good strong vote in the Senate as soon as possible. Optimally, a part of the Farm Bill as well, and we know we need to get that done too.
And then before I let you go, what do you have to say to the farmers and the other ag leaders that made the trip out to DC this week? I'll be talking to Jan Tenbensel tomorrow about his experience, but what do you have to say to those folks who came all the way out to the nation's capital to speak on behalf and knock on doors and do all that type of stuff?
I say thank you. I know Jan and others have been so diligent and reasonable and pointing out the facts, keeping the fact train on the rails. And so I'm grateful for that kind of advocacy. Of course, it certainly helps for producers like Jan and others to be engaged. But we know how important this is, and I think the president is anxious to sign this, and that we optimally can get this done.
Congressman Adrian Smith, on the back half of potentially a double whammy there. You won your primary on Tuesday night, and now you get one of the biggest wins in your time in Congress here on Wednesday.
Well, I'm grateful. A lot of people to thank on multiple fronts.
Congressman Adrian Smith, again, thank you so much for taking a few minutes. Again, literally maybe an hour or change after the vote happened, taking a few minutes with us. Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a good night.